When the season started, we looked at this stretch that we just got from in terms of the MT, Florida, and coming back and having to go to Old Dominion on Saturday. We knew that it would be a real challenging stretch. 4 games in 6 days when we finished that ODU game. Some really good things happened on the trip in Florida. Some good things happened even at the ODU game in the first half, and obviously disappointed with the way the game finished up in our second half there.
What can you learn about your team over a 4-game stretch like that? A lot of basketball in a short amount of time.
Yeah, the ability in Florida really, Stephen, to make adjustments as the game night to night. You don't have much preparation time when you play those 3 games. Indiana State was normal preparation, then you have to do a quick turnaround for Toledo and a quick turnaround for UT Arlington. First 2 games were in the morning. There was a little bit of adversity in that first game because they were moving the game because of some issues in the arena. So I thought our guys' ability to concentrate and make adjustments day to day, 3 days in a row was pretty good. Obviously, we play a lot of guys. We still play a lot of guys regardless, and I'm sure that rotation will continue to get a little bit smaller as we go, but that ended up being a benefit for us there was different guys stepped up in different games.
Coach, when you're on the road for that many games together early in the season, the non-basketball activities that the teams will be able to do, how does that help kind of grow the culture here that you want to grow?
Yeah, I think that's really big. We spend a lot of time together, obviously, like you said, with the basketball stuff. And there's other things that guys have. They have study hall when we're on the road, and we have a lot of team meals together. So I think that chemistry and cohesiveness gets stronger when you're on the road in those kind of environments. Then you get back for one day. We had a Thanksgiving meal together. We're off, and then we're back in practice, and we're on the road on the bus on the way up to Norfolk to play ODU. So you do get to spend that time together, and I think that is a positive. But it's also just a challenge in general just to be on the road that long of a stretch, come back for a day, and then go play a really quality opponent on the road. But again, we gained some things out of it.
You guys played well in the first half, and then faced a lot of adversity in the second half. Just what was kind of the message to the team after the game?
We got out-toughed. We got out-toughed, out-physicaled. I thought they were faster. They were quicker to the ball in the second half. Again, in the first half, I'm not saying we were, but I think it was an evenly matched first half for the most part. But looking at the game afterwards, they definitely were the more physical team. And again, second half of a long stretch. I don't know if legs were a factor, what it was, but we told the guys that's not an excuse. The bottom line is they were more physical. They dominated the paint on us. We knew going into the game they wanted to get the ball to the paint. They were a paint team, a rebounding team, and they had their way with us in the second half, and that's why it was such a large discrepancy in the score in the second half.
In the first half, the Pirates really responded to the road challenge, I thought. What can you speak to that?
Yeah, again, that was our first road game as a team. We've had a couple scrimmages that were in empty gyms, even though they were on the road. Our scrimmages, we went on the road for both of them. When we were in Florida, that's a neutral site court. To be quite honest, it was basically an empty arena all 3 games. So this was the first time that you faced a true road atmosphere. So you had a lot of freshmen. We had 7 turnovers between 2 freshmen in the post, and some of them were just things like dropping the ball and not, simple plays. So probably it was a factor, but again, we got to go on the road next week in a tougher environment again. So we'll grow as a team, but I do think the guys responded well, at least in the first half, but 20 minutes is never going to be enough, in any game, let alone a road game versus a really good team.
When you look at Ezra Valentino getting those minutes, how much can they grow from that? It seemed like they were a little sped up at times, but that is good experience for those guys, right?
Yeah, sure. And then Stephen, you hit it on the head. Those are the 2 guys that had the 7 turnovers, between them. But you need to go through it. We've often said this: the only way to get experience is to get experience and to have a chance to go through it. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully it helps them as we prepare for South Carolina State for tomorrow night. That's the bottom line. In every game, whether it's road or home, is an experience those guys need. They're not heavy minute guys right now, so they have to do the most they can with the minutes that they get. But I definitely think they can grow, but those mistakes definitely cost us in that game.
South Carolina State comes in really struggling. I think they're 56% from the free throw line. How do you keep your guys kind of level-headed, not getting too confident, knowing they're playing a opponent that they're probably a lot better than.
Well, we're not a lot better than them. There's no reason at all for us to be overconfident in any game that we play all year. This is a team, South Carolina State, that's a really good team, a really well-coached team. They've had 7 road games. So the way we feel when we went on the road for 3 and then had to go to ODU, they've felt that since November 7th. They've been on the road at Kentucky, at Wake Forest, at Western Kentucky. They have been on the road. So from a standpoint of that, the record is meaningless. I think this is 2 teams that are both hungry because we're both coming off a loss, and that's all that matters. I know they're going to be ready, and I know we'll be ready.
Given some of the places they've played, they're not going to obviously come in here intimidate or anything. Is that kind of a, I don't want to say a scary thing, but it's something you have to tell your team. They're not going to come in here ready to back down.
Absolutely. This team's been on the road 7 games, and they've played in some of the best environments in the country. They've played really good teams, and we'll have a great environment in here, but the team is not, they're not going to be intimidated in any way, shape, or form. They're not going to come in here uncomfortable being on the road. Maybe like you asked earlier about us having our first road experience at ODU, this team is well versed with being on the road so far this season. So it's going to come down to what happens in between the lines, and they'll be ready, and we got to get ready today in practice as well.
It seemed like Winston starting to kind of find that comfort zone. How good has that been to see?
It's good, and we always said that Florida was the time that we thought Winston might be able to maybe get off of a minute restriction and be more in the realm of hopefully getting back to being in game shape. Because again, it's not his injury; it's just getting time in back and getting back everything that comes with rehabbing for such a long time, being in game shape. But that being said, when we got to ODU, I think Winston, along with all the guys, not just Winston, we all tried to do a little too much on offense, and we got behind in the second half. Everyone tried to flip the game on the offensive side, and when that happens, high turnovers start happening and the defense suffers too. So we just got to reset and get our mind back to where we know defense is at the forefront of what's going to give us a chance, and let the offense happen kind of organically from there.
Viola, he's also coming off an injury. It just seems like he's been, I don't know, maybe not quite comfortable shooting the ball. Have you kind of seen that? Is he maybe pressing, you think, a little bit on that side?
I think anytime you start a season with the numbers that he has right now, I'm sure there's a part of him that's pressing. He's a highly competitive player. He does as good a job as anyone for us in his minutes, rebounding the basketball and setting the defensive tone. He's had some good looks. He's forced some shots. He had a great opportunity the other night to really go get himself a layup, and he ended up kind of pulling the string on a mid-range jump shot. And so I think he'll work his way through it. But I think, Stephen, like you said, I think anytime you have, I think he's 1 for 20 or 1 for 21 right now from the floor. I'm sure he's pressing a little bit, and that's natural. And he just, again, if you keep your focus in the right areas, that lid will come off the rim for him.
You've kind of used the phrase a few times, getting lost on the defensive side of the ball. Do you mean like just the players kind of playing so hard on defense, the game just kind of comes natural to them?
Yeah, I think that's, at least that's what we want our style of play or identity to be within our guys, is that you have no reason to go out worrying about offense. You don't have to worry about, am I going to score the ball or am I going to make an impact on offense? Where your intensity and where, if you want to use the word worry, needs to be is, are we playing as hard as we can on defense? Are we executing our defensive game plan? Am I doing the job in front of the guy in terms of guarding the guy in front of me, or from a team defensive standpoint? And I think when you do that, or when we do that, I think our offense comes a bit more naturally. And sometimes that happens, as you can see in some of those games where we came from behind. The guys' backs are against the wall. We know we have to get stops. The pressure picks up, and then offense shots start to fall. But if you look at it the other way, you go into a game thinking I have to make shots, it usually doesn't work out well. And at least I know for our team, that's not going to be something that we'll be successful with, thinking that way.